Parenting is the hardest job, and there is not a close second. Raising high-performing teen athletes or performers? That's a high-stakes job. I'm Nate Crandall, joined by fellow certified high-performance coach Steve Galley. We coach ambitious parents like you, and also your high-performing teens, because when you both level up, connection and results don't just improve, they multiply. Welcome to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast. We have some burning questions for you. Are you saying I should just do nothing?
Wow, you sounded kind of like a pouty teenager right there.
I'm
Are
sorry.
you trying to, are we in a fight or something that I didn't know we were in?
No,
You
we're
just
not.
want me to do nothing? Is that what you want?
You know what, though? As you joke about that, but that's the conversation that I have in mind with this. Because how many times do we as parents end up with that? Because our kids are like, you don't, and we can't figure out exactly what they want because they can't figure out what they want. And so we get to this line. You want me to just do nothing? And so I think it's worth talking about. This is a great subject.
It is worth talking about, maybe in a little different vein or angle.
Mm-hmm. This is a really good one for us to explore because as parents, we do get frustrated and we feel that you're saying you want me to do nothing. And then you and I get on here and we're like, hey, you should stop parenting and start coaching. And then at the same time, coaching means doing less. And it almost feels like you're doing nothing at times when you're doing it right.
Yes. And can I attach this to what we just talked about in our previous episode? 131. So we're on 132 now. But in episode 131, we explained why parents are not often the best choice as far as being a mindset coach for their teens, because they're so close to the action, close to the teens. And so while we say, stop parenting, start coaching, that doesn't mean we want you to coach from the stands as a sport coach when you should be spectating. It also means that there's times where you need to step back and let another coach and do what he or she is best at and best for that situation, which we believe that about the mindset, don't we? We believe that it's better to have an outside voice that is not so close. You like to talk about these people as, what's the 4-letter acronym? The NS, the
significant non-parental adults, the SNPAs.
And that could be a mindset coach. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah, very much so. This is why therapy works. This is why all that stuff works.
Right. Thankfully, we are not therapists.
No, we're not.
And we do not want to be one. And we do not, at least I don't, and we don't pretend to be them. But tell me this connection then of, I think what you're saying with your question is, we're telling parents in episode 131 that it's best to have an outside voice when it comes to mindset coaching. And so then they feel almost helpless, maybe even a little bit worthless in that situation and say, well, then should I just do nothing? That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, that's not what we're saying. But what we are saying is the point you have to get to as parents is it's going to feel frustratingly little. It's going to feel like you're not doing that much. So it might be inactive participation, but it's not, you're not doing nothing. You're not stepping away and not being involved. And we're going to get way more into this later on in this episode. We got a 5-second lane test that we're going to share. So make sure you stick with us because that'll be coming up, and that's a super valuable asset to have. So as we start to get into this idea, this is kind of 131 talked about the why, that idea of you need that outside mindset coach. Today, we want to get into this idea of what you do instead. And if you're not trying to fill that role of mindset coach, it doesn't mean you can't talk to them about mindset. It's very valuable to talk to your kids about mindset. But remember, your best way of teaching them about mindset is modeling it. How can you have a rock solid mindset? And so as parents, getting coaching to help you build your mindset's also something really critical. But the most important thing that parents do in this area is creating this idea of a home base where safety, steadiness, the truth can be addressed and talked about without it being a threat to the relationship or a threat to progress. And so that's the main focus, but that's going to feel like you're doing less.
Yeah, it's going to feel very passive.
Yeah.
And yet it actually is a good strategy.
Great word
You know,
there.
I mean,
It is strategic.
I see this all the time, Nate, and we're both certified high performance coaches. We both have, coach clients on the side besides what we do here together with parents and with athletes. And I could see how a high achiever would view this as doing nothing, having someone else coach your team, because chances are, as a high achiever, they have so many good mindset habits. They apply so many good mindset principles in their life. That's why they're high achievers.
Mhm.
And so now to say, well, wait, I'm going to have this coach work on mindset with my team. I could do that. I could.
That's the trap.
That's the trap. And I can tell you right now, I could do this. I could do this with my kids. Nate, there's no question I could. But guess what? Somebody else would do it way better
Great way to
because
describe that.
so I guess parents, you could do this, and some of you do it, and some of you try it. It's not the most effective way. It's not the best way.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with a mom this week, and she was really concerned because her son's having some challenges, and he takes these specific challenges that he's having to his dad because he doesn't feel like he can talk to his mom about it. And it makes it really challenging for her because she loves him so much. She wants to be involved and help him with everything. And that's a common feeling. I feel that. I do this at home, like with my wife and my daughter. And if I ever go into coach mode, they hate it. They hate it. Stop trying to coach me. And so I don't. And it feels frustratingly like I'm not doing anything because we do this. We're certified high performance coaches and all the fun stuff. But what I have learned that I have to do is build that home base. And if I put my time and energy into doing that, even though it feels like I'm not doing much, every once in a while, there's a chance to ask one great question.
Yeah. Have you ever been on the freeway and there's somebody in front of you that just can't make a decision about which there's a little bit of drifting?
Too many times, and I probably yelled at them.
They may be distracted. They may most likely distracted, but are you the person that says, hey, pick a lane?
Yeah. Yeah.
You are. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've talked about
I'm much more patient on the road, but
I'm not.
pick a lane. Hey, you never know. They could be flipping back and forth between episodes of the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast. They probably should while they're driving, but there's probably a good reason why they're.
If they are, I would be
drifting.
very patient with them while they're shifting in lanes uncontrollably.
Yeah. By the way, I'm excited to hear about the lane test. What did you call it?
It's the lane test of just a 5-second lane test.
Yeah, the 5-second lane test. So what are the lanes? What are the different lanes that parents find themselves moving into when they're trying to be the coach in this situation and they should maybe step back?
Well, the two main ones are you're trying to be a parent, but you're also trying to be the coach. And then there's different aspects to the coaching. There's the coaching, the performance, and then there's the coaching, the mindset. Sometimes we bring other stuff into it as well. And just having clarity on which role you want to be. Are you there to provide unconditional safety? Are you trying to provide some performance coaching? Are you trying to provide some mindset coaching? Are you trying to coach them on emotional regulation when they're under pressure? So there's a lot of different ones that you could pick, but yeah, as a parent, it's really hard to choose the right one. And the safest one, but the one that feels like you're doing the least amount of work, is that unconditional safety lane.
Why is that?
Emotions. We talk about our podcast is Stop Parenting and Start Coaching. And it's a great approach to working with your kids. Teens, especially teens nowadays, it's such an emotional minefield. And for them to navigate an emotional minefield, they have to have a guide who is not emotional. And so coaching your teens it's a tightrope that you have to learn to walk as a parent, where you have someone you love as much as you love these kids, and your emotions are going to be right there and they're right near the surface. But you have to have them totally under control and regulated. Because if you go dysregulated as the parent, you've lost any ability to coach.
Yeah, I would say if you go dysregulated, that's when you usually turn into a referee rather than a
Oh, great
scout.
analogy. Yeah.
And I mean, as old basketball coaches like you and I are, I don't want to talk about referees. Can we just move on from that? But you
Well,
know
yeah,
what? Kids don't want to they don't want a referee in that situation
no,
either.
because what they're really worried about is evaluation. And so when we shift at all, when we pull emotions into it one way or the other, what they end up hearing is evaluation. They don't hear the love, they hear evaluation. And it's so hard to avoid that as parents.
And I would say we use the word evaluation. I would say they use the word judgment.
Yeah. Pressure. They talk a lot about it's judgment and it's pressure.
Yeah.
How they show up. And I get to talk to a lot of kids about this idea, and parents love them to death. Parents work hard for them. They're great parents. They're MVPs, but it is so hard to avoid that. And I think if you want to be better at this is one of the best bits of advice I ever got as a parent. Avoid bringing past mistakes up at all costs. And that's such a challenge because we remember the mistakes they've made in the past. But as soon as we bring up something that they're trying to move past or hope that they've moved past, that creates evaluation. That creates judgment. And it's real easy to lose your kids to that.
I mean, I'm chuckling to myself because I think I have to raise my hand and say, I have done this.
So have I.
I have made this error. You become a terrible history teacher, even if your facts are straight.
Yeah, your teen hears any kind of history. We need to have an episode sometime where we really dig into the research on positivity ratios, because I think that would be something that's super beneficial down the road for us to talk about. But anytime your teen hears history, any kind of negative history, you lose them. Because they think that you don't trust them, and they think that you don't think that they've grown past what they've done in the past.
And you might even be correct on your feedback.
You could be 100% right, but if you're bringing up past mistakes, they look at that as you're condemning them and you're not recognizing the hard work or the growth that they've put in. And even if you don't think they've grown, maybe they feel like they have, or maybe they're desperate to feel like they have.
Yeah. I think one of the most enjoyable parts of coaching parents on mindset is when we get to our response stage, the response principle, because this is where you have to become elite at your responses. And the bringing up the history, the old past, the past mistakes, to me, that is one of the worst responses that we can do as parents, as coaches. There is a way to bring up the past, but in this situation, definitely not. So earlier, Nate, you talked about being neutral. I would love to hear your thoughts on how how neutrality applies to this situation.
So I actually got this phrase from you. I don't know if you realize
What?
that or not, but you said the phrase one time: neutrality is gasoline for growth. And so that neutral place is an incredibly empowering place for your kids. Now, as a parent, you can be, even as a parent coach, you can be really good at equipping, encouraging, and empowering your teens. But because you love them so much, it makes this idea of neutrality really hard. If you can capture it, then you open them up for an incredible amount of growth. This is part of why the outside voice helps a lot, that significant non-parental adult, because it's easier for them to bring that neutrality, which fuels the growth. So as a parent, you shift into the equipping, the encouraging, and empowering in your way. But that outside voice really gets it going because neutrality drives growth. When they're not fearing judgment, they're able to take a little more ownership and drive that thing forward, which is cool. We're almost to the lane test now. In fact, I'm kind of
Yeah.
excited to share that.
Yeah. I I wanted to add one more thought to this
Mhm.
because I'm sitting here trying to put myself in the shoes of being a parent of a teen athlete performer again, and having somebody tell me that I need to step away and that an outside voice for mindset is going to be better. That's a tough pill to swallow
Yeah.
because I'm with my I'm the dad,
Yeah.
right? I love this kid more than the outside coach does. I'm his biological father, and I think what you're saying is it's not that you're wrong as a parent, but you're too close.
Yeah.
Like, you're too close, and that's why the outside voice is so important. It's not that you're wrong, it's just that you're too close.
An interesting take on this, Steve, is sometimes we want, as the parent, we want so much to be the hero in our kids' lives that we feel like we have to do everything for them. And we're reluctant to allow somebody else to step into a role where they can help, where they can be a benefactor for our kids. And I don't know what it takes to make that jump, but I would invite our parents to consider it this way. Your kids are so amazing and lovable, and when you allow them to be loved by other people in meaningful and appropriate ways, you're actually helping your kids to succeed at a higher level. And there's a certain level of humility as a parent that's really hard to do. Like you brought up the high performers before, and they're so driven and they're so successful. But as a parent, we have to realize that at some point, our influence with our kids ends. And are we introducing them to outside influences that can love them and benefit them? Not like we do. We're not trying to find a replacement. We're not saying that we're not doing a good job, but it's just opening them up to that idea of getting some help from the outside.
I
Sorry,
love
that
that.
was a little tangential, but that just came to my mind while you were talking there.
No, I loved it. Do we wanna go through any quick action steps before we get to the lane test?
Yeah, we could bounce through some really quick. The first one that comes to my mind is just cueing a conversation. If you feeling yourself wanting to talk about these things, stop yourself for just a second and ask your teen, do you want support or do you want some ideas?
Mm, I like
And,
that.
and see where they go.
Another action step, and this is something we've talked about before, is having some boundaries around performance talks. And to me, one of the worst times to talk about performance is immediately after the performance, especially if it is emotion based. And if we're talking about sports, then we are talking about very emotional experiences because in the sports that you and I coach, Nate, there's a winner and there is a loser, and that can be very tough. So I would say with teens, you should just have a general rule that I'm not doing any kind of performance talk right now afterwards. And if you have younger kids and you're in the cars with them, a lot of people like to talk about the car ride home. To me, the car ride home should be 0 about performance.
Yeah.
Some
Now,
people will open that up and say, "Well, if they wanna talk about it, I'll talk about it." I kinda go more to the extreme of, "No, talk about other things, and there will be a future time to then ask them if they wanna talk about it."
it's funny you say that because I was just going to bring that up. And I probably fall more into the camp of if the teen brings it up, I'm going to let them lead that conversation, but they're 100% in charge of where that conversation goes. I'm
For
asking
sure.
questions. I am not giving any of my opinions on anything. If they want to talk about the performance and stuff, cool. But they're 100% in charge. And if they change subject, I'm changing subject too.
Right. And of course, I always revert back to thinking about coaching high school.
Yeah.
And my athletes and my players that I coached, they were not riding home from games with their parents unless it was some type of unique situation. Okay, one more action step, and then we'll get to the lane test that you've been waiting for.
Sir. I like just that the handoff is a really good thing to do, but this is probably
it's
the
football.
handoff.
See, we're right in the middle of football playoffs. It's exciting.
College football playoffs.
Yeah.
It is exciting. We're giving the ball to Indiana and letting them run with it. So
I think by the time that this episode airs, the Indiana Hoosiers. Oh no, I don't want to jinx them. Sorry.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Scratch that. I'm not going to say that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so here's the handoff. Having that conversation with your kid where you tell them, I love you a ton, but this isn't about my voice right now. Let's help find you somebody on the outside that you can trust. And we have some clients that their parents have made this bold step. And I think it's powerful because it teaches the teens a lot of really important messages. But just saying that I love you so much, but I can't help you with this, or I don't want to make this about my voice. Who can we find that's an outside voice you trust?
It's so funny you mentioned this, Nate, because I was talking with a sports dad earlier this week, and this was the near exact quote. Well, I'm just dad right now, so I don't know anything.
And that resonates with every parent listening right now.
Yes. And I said, that's not necessarily a terrible thing.
No.
And I asked him, have you ever thought about an outside voice? And
the obstacle is the way.
Yes. Okay. Hey, let's get to the lane test. Go.
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
Okay. So here's your lane test. And you may want to, this is just something really quick, but when you're feeling this pressure mounting, hit the pause button for just a second and then get crystal clear about the lane you're choosing. What do I want to do right now? And I promise you, picking that safe route where you're the parent and just maintain a safe space for them to talk about what they need to is the place to go. If you try to shift into the performance coach, if you try to become the emotional regulator, it's really tough. If you do choose to go that route, you have to get to neutral. You have to get your emotions out of play and be able to completely come from a neutral place and read what your kid's giving you, because as soon as they feel you're a referee, you're in trouble. So your lane test is simply make that quick decision. Which lane am I going to be in? Am I going to be the parent with safety, or am I going to go the performance coach or emotional regulator route?
Love it. One thing I don't want the parents to be neutral about is subscribing to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast channel on YouTube, or you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this with a friend who is a parent of a teen athlete or performer.
You got the hardest job in the world. You're doing great.
Nate Crandall and Steve Galli would like to thank you for tuning in to this episode. If you love what you're experiencing and learning from the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast, please like, comment, and or leave a glowing review of this episode and the show. And to further help Nate and Steve expand their reach and impact thousands of parents, athletes, and performers, please share the show and subscribe to the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast channel on YouTube. And if you want to explore further to see what Nate and Steve are creating to help parents of athletes and performers everywhere, please visit their website at createtransformbecome.com. That's createtransformbecome, all one word, .com. There you will find a growing number of tools and resources to help you elevate your parenting. Thanks again for tuning in. Now go create a magical relationship with your athlete or performer.